Hey, James.
So good to see you, and thank you so much for meeting up with us. I know you're busy. You're traveling right now. Thank you so much.
Well, I'm happy to be with you. This is a very important topic.
Yes, it is. And the comment that Sabine made there at the end, I thought was interesting. And I think that's part of my one of my questions at the end. So I'm keen to get your thoughts about some of that because I had not even considered that to some of the extent that she was talking about it. So we're here to talk about why the venture capital industry should support founder mental wellness and how it can do so. So let's get into it. And so my first question, Bobby, is why is this issue important to you and or to the NVCA?
Well, to me, it's important because, and it should be important to everybody in the country. And let me say why. Because in my role at NVCA, I have to help policymakers and others appreciate and understand what the entrepreneurial ecosystem does for our country.
When you say
And
policymakers, you mean Congress people, right?
members of Congress, the White House, any policymaker in Washington, D.C., which is where NVCA is headquartered. I mean, we're the ones that are talking to them about how important the entrepreneurial ecosystem is. Let me give you a few points. So, if you go today and look at the most valuable by market cap public companies in the world, about 8 out of 10 of them were once an entrepreneur founder, like you're talking about here, meeting with a US venture capitalist to helping take that idea
Did you
and
say
turn it
eight out of
into
10?
something. 8 out of 10.
Wow.
So you think about the importance to the world when you say 8 out of 10 of the most valuable companies started with a U.S. venture investor. When you think about Kauffman Foundation did a study years ago that said all net new job creation comes from young, high growth companies, often venture backed, not big companies, already established big companies, not mom and pops, although they make up a large part of the employment, but net new jobs come
Yeah.
from venture-backed companies. They create entirely new industries. They create new categories. They create things that weren't thought of in the past. And so that shows how important it is to the US. And if it's important to the US, then it should be, important to everyone in it, right? And when you think about founder mental health and well-being and how important that is to their ultimate success and then eventually ultimately to the success of the country, that's what raises this issue that you're bringing a light to so much higher.
Amazing. So everybody listening, we're talking with Bobby Franklin. Bobby is the president and CEO of the National Venture Capital Association, the NVCA, the preeminent lobbying group or association, trade association. Apologize if I said that incorrectly for the
That's
venture
right.
capital industry. Um, so, so my next question is, Bobby, what systemic changes do you believe are necessary for the VC industry to lean into founder mental health?
I mean, I think ultimately it's the same that's true for every industry and everybody, and that is to be able to talk about this more, right? I mean, this you're raising awareness of something that had for too long, for too many people and too many industries and too many corners of society, it's sort of frowned upon. And
Mm.
that is something that needs to change. Now, there have been people that are saying it needs to change, and the only way it can change is if each one of us sort of starts talking about it more, right? And so I think you're doing a great service to like force people to talk about this issue more. I think that's the systemic change that needs to not only happen in our industry, but in every industry. That's why
Amen.
it is so important.
Amen. Thank you for saying that. You know, thank you. I mean, it's important. I mean, even it's so important. It feels like I'm slogging uphill. It's just, but I know it's so important, and I know when the founders get therapy. Two of the founders were here. I don't know if you were in the backstage when they were talking, but both of those female founders, they got mental therapy grants. And they're like, "Thank you," and founders get it, and they're like, "Thank you. Can I have some more?" Like, I had a guy on here yesterday. We did a teaser. He was in Africa. Are you supporting founders in Africa? I'm like, well, we're primarily focused on US based founders, but if BetterHelp has therapists in Africa, like hit me up. I'll pay for it.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of keeps me going. Like I've lived it. I know it's important. Django thinks it's important. You heard Sabine talking about it. It matters. So I appreciate you taking time out of your extremely busy schedule to help send a signal that this is important and people should be paying attention to it. So my next question, Bobby, is, should, and this is a weird question. I'm curious to get your thoughts. Should mental health outcomes be included in how firms evaluate portfolio success, and what would that look like, even if the answer is yes? I don't know.
I It's a great question. I think we're at the beginning of it, right? I mean, we're talking about this. The good news is I think there are a lot of firms that are thinking about this. Now, some of them may get to it in the second bullet point, right? Sometimes it's the first bullet point that talks about physical well-being, and they only get to this as a second bullet point. By the way, as an aside, I'm from Arkansas, and Alice Walton of the Sam Walton Walmart family just opened a med school in Northwest Arkansas, and part of its focus is talking about whole health.
Mm.
And it's a med school to train doctors, but its purpose is to also think about mental health,
Oh,
even
amazing.
even spiritual health, even social, kind of support. So it is definitely something that I think is on more minds these days, and it needs to be on a lot more.
Incredible. So here's a good comment for you, Jeff Johnson. Great to have you part of this, Bobby. That's so good. Love that. Love that. Love that. Last question here is, actually I have two more questions. So we're talking with Bobby Franklin, who's the president and CEO of the National Venture Capital Association, NVCA. How can venture firms balance high performance expectations with sustainable founder well-being, you think?
Well, I think that to me, it's not a balance. They're directly connected, right? I mean, you've got to have a founder that has got that the mental health state to go do what they do, which is just incredible. I mean, the
Yeah,
founders are the heroes of the entrepreneurial ecosystem story, right?
1000%.
And so as heroes of the story, they're the ones that have to be successful. If they are successful, then there's no balancing kind of the high performance you need as a venture capital firm, because it comes when they're
1000%.
successful, when they have the exits, then you as a fund and you as a firm are successful, and you make those exit returns and distributions back to your limited partners, and the whole cycle can start again. That's what's
Mm,
amazing about this cycle. But you've got to have it go from, raise a fund, invest in founders, support them like you're doing here for years
yeah,
and years. And at the end of the day, there needs to be some sort of exit for those early investors so they can go back in and support the next generation of founders and the
thousand
new
percent.
ideas.
Bobby, I'm so glad you're here. So I met you. You were on the Give First podcast with Brad Feld. I got to ping David and see if I could go in there and talk about what we're doing here. But I digress. And I reached out to Brad. I said, "Oh my God, Bobby's amazing. Can you please introduce me?" And he did. And you were like, "Yeah, I'm game to connect." I'm like, "Thank you. It's so good." But I wish I'd met you sooner so I could have convinced you to write a chapter in our book. What do you think about Judge Django?
I agree. I think all that I'm learning from all of this is that this probably just needs to be more than one book at the end of the day. Like, we've done the first story, so maybe what we need to do is just kind of continue it after we kind of launch this out, because there's even more stories and more that we can even highlight, I think.
Yeah. So Bobby, Django is the founder of Focus on Words. Focus on Words is an AI-driven platform where he interviews people, and he takes their words, and the AI agent goes and writes books.
Yeah.
So it's remarkable. It's very innovative. It's very accurate. It does a phenomenal job. Although he said my interview didn't work. He said I kept breaking the AI. He said, "You're so complicated." I'm like,
well,
sorry, bro.
the secret is that, like, AI plus people is how you build things that are different. And so I have written books. I have taken a lot of time to be able to really understand, like, maybe how to take a conversation and turn it into something. The crazy thing is James is an eccentric human being. So as I'm trying to write like James, when he starts talking, he goes and then he has this thought, and then he runs that thought. You got to let him do it. And it's like, it's all good. It just makes it kind of hard to do. So
That's the ADHD in me, bro. Sorry.
yeah, 100%. But it's all good. He did an
I
amazing
think
job.
you
He
would
helped
have
me.
the same experience if you talked to me.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. All right. So last question for you, Bobby, before we let you get out of here is, and this goes back to Sabine's question, sort of, what role can LPs play in pushing the industry toward healthier and more supportive founder well-being environments? I love this question so much.
Yeah, I mean, look, LPs can do a lot, right? At the end of the day, they're the ones supplying the source of capital to make this whole entrepreneurial ecosystem work. And so, they can ask questions of their general partners. They can ask questions like, "What are you doing? How are you helping your founders?" They can destigmatize the conversation. And if all the LPs are asking all of the GPs, "What are you doing around kind of founder mental health?" And I guarantee you more GPs will do more around founder mental health.
So do you think that's going to be institutional LPs or more individual LPs that might lead the charge with that?
All of them. I mean, I think obviously those with the bigger checks may have the louder voices, but to me, it's an across the board sort of thing. And I am excited to see a lot of NVCA member firms sort of take steps to really think about how they're supporting their founders in different ways. That's over the last, decade that I've observed, you can see that materialize in different ways. And I think this is, probably that next iteration that needs to happen, where they talk about how important founder mental health is. And you all asked me the first question, which why is this so important to me? And I sort of launched into because the entrepreneurial ecosystem is so important. Let me give you a more personal answer. I have a daughter who's a junior in college, and she is studying psychology and neuroscience to be a mental health professional. And so I see firsthand in my own family how somebody is willing to walk down this road to help others. And that makes me proud as a dad. And in my role at NVCA, it also helps me understand why it's important that you're doing what you're doing and why it was important to me to come on your little show today to talk about how important it is to the entrepreneurial ecosystem.
Amazing. I so appreciate that. So here's a good comment from Doug. The majority of founders, especially here in San Francisco, are young. They have tremendous expertise in what they do, yet. I think you mean they don't, I think. Like so many young people, they lack holistic experience in so many developmental aspects. Like Sabine mentioned, there's no difference between these young people and those in sport. The Darwinian approach in any high performance environment will always produce winners, yet there are so many people who can achieve the same level of success with investment in their development. Amen.
Yeah, and James, there's one other aspect here. The U.S. is the leader in venture. We invented the idea of venture capital investing to support founders. And there are places around the world that are trying to catch up, and many of them have over the last decade or two. But one area that we have always had an advantage of, but it actually makes it difficult around mental health, is failure. And we in the US have tended to embrace failure. And entrepreneurs and venture capitalists often look at somebody that tried something and failed, say, look, they're that much closer to success. They've seen a way that didn't work. That means they're closer to a way that does work.
Yeah.
And yet you've got to imagine the toll that takes on folks' mental health.
Yeah.
And I think embracing that and making sure that that continues to be a bit of the secret sauce that at least we in the United States have to make sure we have a vibrant entrepreneurial ecosystem is a very important point to make.
Amen. We're at time, Bobby. I so appreciate you for coming with us, and I'm just grateful for you and look forward to collaborating with you some more in the future. If I could contribute to being a part of the solution here in any way, please don't hesitate to text me or email me. And I know you're traveling, so safe travels, and we'll be in touch soon, sir.
Well, I'm traveling, but I'm going to get on the phone after we hang up here and call the office and tell them to make sure they get on here and make a contribution from NVCA.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Hey, we're amazing. A nonprofit. It's not going to be a huge contribution, but I want to do our part.
Oh my God. Well, you didn't see David Cohen. He's doing a challenge. He's like, if people will invest and donate $2,000, he'll match $2,000. Jeff put in $5, somebody did 150. So we're getting close.
Well, awesome. I'll make sure that we put in $1,000. How's that?
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Bob. We appreciate you, sir. And I guess another round of applause. Thank you so much. Cheers, Bobby. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Cheers.